okay? And this would be an important beginning exercise for me. And in fact, it's so important, I still do something like this regularly, right? I get coached. I've got a best friend. I've got business partners, business planning, right? I go through this regularly. So I go through this tonight or tomorrow to start from scratch. And in my little sections, I'd first call them fears, beliefs, and declarations. Fears, beliefs, and declarations. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna load the PDF right now in the chat box. That way, if you all want to click on this PDF, it might be an easier way for you to organize your thoughts. Obviously, you won't have time to just like stop and print it out right now, but you can open it up and it'll open up on your computer screen. Give me a thumbs up in the chat, somebody, once you have it open, and let me know that you can see it. And it'll sort of visually represent you to you like how I'd be planning. Okay. So fears, beliefs, and declarations. And I'm not going to spend a long time on this tonight, but I will spend probably 5 or 10 minutes to help you go through it, because I want you to recognize that like it's okay to be having these, right? I've been in the business for many, many years. I've been a professional entrepreneur for decades. Like I still have these. So it's okay to have fears, right? And in my fears section, I would write down at first just like a stream of consciousness. Like, what am I afraid of? What are my real fears right now, right? Am I really afraid that I can't make enough money to stay in this business? Am I really afraid that I can't pay my dues and pay my realtor fees and my membership? Am I really afraid that I can't feed my family? Am I really afraid that I'm not going to be able to figure this out? I'm not going to be able to learn it? Failure. It's a real fear. Or am I maybe more afraid that I'm going to get it going, but I don't know that I can keep it going? I've done a lot of different things in my life, and I'm not really sure this is it. I want it to be it. I hope it's it. I'm afraid I'm not going to be great. I'm going to be okay, be great. But I'm fearful of this. I'm fearful of that. I'd like list out my fears, write them down. It's cathartic. It's hard, but it's good because you have this nagging little like itch in the back of your heart or your mind, or like, you know, it might be on your shoulder blades or down on your ankle. You just keep rubbing it. You don't know what it is. Just something bugging you, but you don't know what it is. You don't know why you're 90 days in the business and you haven't made any calls yet. You don't know why every day you show up at your desk yet you don't pick up the phone. You don't know why you have that great conversation with a buyer at an open house and then you don't call them back the next day. You don't know why you make those videos and then you don't post them. But if you start exploring your fears, you'll get closer to figuring it out. So write them down. And many of you might, believe it or not, be a little bit afraid of success. You might be afraid of what it means to actually be really good at running a real estate business. You might be afraid of the hours. You might be afraid of the time commitment. You might be afraid of the time away from the family. You might be afraid of spending that much time in a car. You might be afraid of a stranger meeting you at a house and you're worried about your safety, right? Like, what are your fears? Write them down, okay? I'd spend a few minutes on this. Then I'd jump over to beliefs, okay? The beliefs are a little bit harder even. They're harder than figuring out what your fears are, okay? Which means they're worth even more, right? If something's harder, if you've ever played like a video game, right? Do you get the most reward from beating the hardest character or like the easiest character, right? Do you get the most reward from the hardest achievement or the easiest? Do you get the most reward from the best workout or the easier workout, right? The better one, the harder one. So now you got to examine your beliefs, okay? And beliefs are a little bit different. So I'm gonna give you some prompts. Now I'm not gonna give you your beliefs. I don't know what your beliefs are, Chris, right, Melanie? But I'm gonna give you some prompts. So first of all, do you believe that you don't deserve, not supposed to happen to you, things happen for others, but not you, you're not lucky? Do you have any of those beliefs? And you don't have to answer that in the chat box. Just reflect with yourself for a minute. And if you do, identify them, call them out, write them down. It's like walking around a house and seeing a crack in the foundation. Hey, not all cracks indicate foundation damage, right? Not all cracks indicate foundation failure, I should say. But it's a little observation that you have to make to be aware, because it might have foundation failure, right? So do you believe in why me? Like, why should it be me, right? Or do you believe why not me? Do you believe you are destined, you are determined, right? Do you believe that this is providence? Do you believe that something led you to this path? Do you believe that everything you've done positions you to go forward effectively, right? Like, why not me? Okay. Then what are your beliefs about your best self? Like, what do you believe the best version of you is? Are you charismatic? Are you funny? Are you smart? Are you kind? Are you caring? Are you energetic? Are you powerful? Are you a leader? Are you a great communicator? Write them down. My mom sent me a text this afternoon, in response to an article. It made me cry. I wrote an article on LinkedIn. I shared with my mom. Everybody wants to share stuff with their mom. And she wrote back and told me about little me. She told me about what she believed about me when I was a kid, and apparently what I believed about myself at like 2 or 3 years old, right? That's pretty powerful stuff to hear from your mother. So call your mom or dad. Go ask them, like, what's the best me? Okay, and make a note here. Then this is the portion I really want to get to for tonight's session. And this is what I'm going to help you with. I'm not going to leave here until I've got like 30 or 40 people that have written at least one of their first declarations, right? Declare, declarative. Go Google that if you don't remember it from like 6th grade English, right? It is a powerful, true statement, right? It's something you're declaring. And for many years, I've been really into, meditation, manifestation. And I've had in my phone, Ryan, for years, these things that I called my daily acceptances and my gratitudes. And they go something like, I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then I describe my existence at that point in the future, right? So I envision something before it even happens. And the other day I was working with my coach and he was asking me about some stuff and I was telling him my acceptances and my gratitudes. And he said, hey, Curtis, I want to ask you to change that a little bit. I want to ask you to declare it. Instead of just picturing it in the future, which is great because I know you're manifesting and you're going to get there. He's like, I want you to set a date and put some sort of measurable specifics in your declaration. I just want to help you turn these into declarations. And I said, wow, okay. So the declarations started with words like, I will have, I will be, I will achieve. Right? One of my favorite coaches in the world, Tony Geary, who's coached, CEOs across multi-billion-dollar companies. He's just this amazing coach. He says that there are 5 types of goals in the world, Sam. 5 types of goals. It's the things I want to have, the things I want to be, the things I want to achieve, the things I want to experience, and the things I want to give. 5 types of goals, right? So Julianne sitting here, Melanie sitting here, Chris sitting here, every one of you is going to have different goals. So your declarations are going to begin with, I will have, I will be, I will achieve. So what we're going to do on this next slide is we're going to spend a few minutes actually creating our declarations. I want you to do this exercise with me, please. In fact, give me a yes in the chat if you will commit to doing this exercise with us here tonight. It should take a few minutes. Perfect. All right. So we got some commitment. I love it. Declarations. So I'm going to give you some prompts and you don't have to pick any of these, but I'm going to tell you the first 2, they stack on top of each other like really amazing building blocks, Legos, Lincoln Logs, whatever you want to go back to. Maybe you write code so they stack like lines of code, whatever you can picture stacking, these things stack, right? Concrete foundation and a big, beautiful home sitting right on top, okay? So I want you to try to do these, but if you want to go any other direction yourself, you're welcome to, Sharon. You can go anywhere you want, Jonathan, okay? So write this down on your paper. By, this means like by a certain time, okay? And you're going to put a date in here. So just for easiness, I'll give you all 12/31/2021. So that's New Year's Eve this year. You can go out further if you want. You can go the end of next year. You can go next summer. You can, whatever date's meaningful to you, but don't go more than like 12 to 18 months out, okay? I want it to be something that you can kind of pay attention to it, track it, and achieve it. So if you want to go with December 31st, 21, that's perfect. By December 31st, 2021, I will complete. Now I'm going to give you something tonight that we call a progress tracker, okay? And really, to me, again, it's the how I would start over from scratch in real estate. So I want you to just pick a number. And again, if you change from this, no problem. But by December 31st, 2021, I will complete, and these are weekly progress trackers, weekly, right? Okay, so we've got what, probably about 13, 17, we've probably got about 18, 19 weeks left, okay? So somewhere up to 20, but please don't pick a number less than like 5, 7. I will complete X progress trackers. And then this is the real one. And I will have some number of relationships in my database. And I hope that number is big. For all of you that are just getting going, I'm going to tell you, when Sam said he wanted to have 10 listings, I knew he needed 20 appointments. And in order for Sam to have 20 appointments, he probably needs 60, 80, 100 good leads. So just to hit that in the next 90 days, Sam's going to have 100 solid seller relationships in his database. So for those of you that said you want to have 2 or 4 or 5 closings, you're going to need hundreds of relationships in your database by December 31st. Not a few, a couple dozen, not a few dozen. You're going to have to crack the triple-digit number, right? So go ahead and write this down. By some date, I will complete some number of weekly progress trackers, and the most important one, and I will have this number of relationships in my database. And once you have the third number, once you've written down how many relationships you want in your database by that date, go ahead and give me the number in the chat box if you're brave enough. I'd love to see it and hear it. Just want to know where your databases are at. And if you're at 0, it better be a double-digit number, maybe triple-digit. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, one of my things I'm big on is when you're questing for freedom, right? Kyle's questing for financial freedom. He's questing for business freedom. He's questing for time and choice freedom, right? When you're questing for freedom, you need a freedom number. And so I love these numbers, Ryan, because you can just grab onto them, right? So now Kyle can just slap a big 10,000 up on his wall, right? Jesus can slap 600 on his wall. And anytime Jesus walks past 600, he can be like Ted Lasso and slap that thing because he believes, right? Because he wrote this declaration, and it's already going to be his. He just has to figure out how to get there. Okay. All right. So the next one, and everybody, I do want you to be realistic, depending how far you took out this date, right? I don't want you to actually just think you're going to put 1,000 people in your database and you don't have a lead generation plan, right? Unless you picked some number. I can tell you, at our peak, my business partner and I were adding 500 relationships a month, but it had taken us years and years to get there, right? So you're probably not on track to add 6,000 relationships between now and December 31st. So pick a real number, okay? I'll give you a link to my slide deck here, everybody. For anybody who wants to go back in slides, I'll share it with you here at the end, and you can go back and look through the slides that you need, okay? So declaration 1, we got it. Declaration 2, okay? I'm gonna give you one about money. This is so important. I told everybody in here that I was binging this amazing financial literacy podcast this weekend, and I just loved it. I loved all of his messages about money. So clear, so simple. My good friend Josh Sigmund, who hosts the podcast, he said something so simple but so true. He was like, for most people, money is emotional. Money is actually really logical. It's just a puzzle. It's just a game, right? It's not supposed to be emotion. It's just numbers. It's just addition and subtraction. You learn that in kindergarten, in first grade, right? So it's such a clear point. So many people shy away from talking about money. I'm going to challenge you to think and talk about money, okay? So by that same date or some other date, pick a date, by a date, I will have earned, insert a dollar amount, and have saved 30% of that amount to invest back into my business. So you got 3 numbers here. By a date, you're welcome to use New Year's Eve 2021, I will have earned 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 70,000, and have saved 1/3 of that. So if I earned 10, I saved 3,000. If I earned 100, I saved 30 to invest back in my business. Because as Josh taught in this literacy podcast, it was just such simple stuff that stood out to me. He taught what was called the 30-30-10-30 rule, 30-30-10-30, right? So you're supposed to save 30% of your money to pay for your taxes, right? You're supposed to live off 30% of your money. You're supposed to give 10% of your money, and then you're supposed to save the other 30%. Now that's a big goal. That's a hardcore rule, but it's his rule, 30-30-10-30. And so in this equation, if you could save 30% of your earnings by that date, imagine what you could do for your business, right, Kyle? You could pour gasoline in that funnel, and your engine could just be humming, right? But of course, you need to make the money first. You need to do what you need to do first, right? All right. Now, last one. And again, this is a little harder, but I challenge you to do this because this is where some of the breakthroughs happen, right, Sam? In that last little cherry on top, because you might be like 60% of the way here with just this thinking, everybody. But if you don't get this last one, you might not actually change. I will need to be And then you describe your best self to achieve these goals. I will need to be, someone said earlier, consistent. Isn't it what? I will need to be the most consistent prospector I've ever been to achieve these goals. Someone said structured. I will need to be the most structured business owner I've ever been. Someone said committed. I will need to be the most committed. Jackson says straight up, I'll need to be someone I've never been. All right, Jackson. So let's describe that superhero right here in this declaration. I will need to be Jackson 2.0. I will need to be fearless Jackson. Because sometimes I live in fear, right? Hey, that fear exercise is really powerful for you, right? Go back. The beliefs. Call your mom. Call your friend. Call your partner. Call your spouse. Call your ex-girlfriend. Call your brother. Call your sister. Who do they believe you are? Let them tell you. Because they'll tell you you're amazing, Jackson. They'll tell you you are fearless. You are powerful. You are bold, right? Let them tell you. Believe it. Okay. So now, give me a yes in the chat. You have at least one declaration down on your paper. All right. Perfect. Cool. Because Ryan, I really want to talk about the hard stuff now. Because this, believe it or not, even though I keep saying these are the hard parts, it's all relative, right? Declarations and beliefs are the hard part of that first exercise. Okay. So now you've got these declarations. I hope they get posted up all over your wall. I hope you're like an 8th grade teenager and you're scribbling them all over your notebook. I hope you're drawing hearts around them with arrows through it, right? Like now you got your declarations. Hang on to them, read them, look at them, post them above your wall, put them on your bed, write them on your mirror, whatever you need to do. Okay. You've got them. But now we need to talk about making progress. Okay. Now we need to talk about making weekly progress. So again, my man, Josh Sigmund's been on my heart lately because I was listening to his podcast. Josh was my first official coach in real estate many, many years ago. He was my first business coach. And Josh used to make us do this thing, and I hated Josh for them, and I love Josh with all my heart for them. He made us do this thing that he called the greatness tracker. Who doesn't want to be great, right? Well, after you looked at what this document was, you wouldn't want to be great. So the greatness tracker, belongs to Josh. I couldn't dig one up, didn't have one handy, but basically it was this one pager. You had to fill it out every week, and it was hardcore. And it came from the answer to the question he went and asked his manager when he first started, back to the beginning of that story, when I told you Josh went and asked the mortgage executive how to be successful in a sales business. And what it boiled down to, the bottom line of what that person told Josh 20 plus years ago, was that you have to have 10 conversations every day. You got it, Joshua. You got it. You have to have 10 plus conversations every day. And so Josh asked something pretty cool. Joshua, asked something pretty cool. Is it from the core training, correct? Another note you put down at your paper at the bottom, like, hey, what is that? Let's ask about that in the Q&A. I'll tell you all about it. So Josh had this greatness tracker. And again, I loved and I hated the greatness tracker, but the bottom line of it was super effective, right? It was super effective. And Jerome's got a greatness tracker right there for everybody. Cool. Check it out. So what I did for you all was I created a little progress tracker. So I just put my own spin on it. And again, I really approached it with what would I do today? Not like what did I used to do many years ago and how did I get started? I gave you the what I would do today in today's day and age with today's approach to work, with the way that I see different generations approaching the real estate game, right? So the first thing I would do is I would have an I will make section. And make is an interesting word, right? Because make for most of us sounds like we're going to go build something. We're going to assemble something with our hands, right? And I think make can be create, manifest, right? So here's what I would be doing today. I will make 50 conversations happen every week. And notice I didn't say I'll make 50 cold calls. I didn't say I will talk to 50 people on the phone, because guess what? Conversations happen in Facebook threads. Conversation happens in your DMs. Conversations happen on an app where you're playing a game with your friends. Conversations happen on Fortnite, right? Conversations happen everywhere. You just have to be in the conversations. You have to make them happen. You have to pull them into existence, right? If you can jump on the phone and talk to 50 people a week, believe me, you will crush it. But that doesn't mean somebody who's an introvert who puts out YouTube videos and answers 50 comments a week isn't also crushing it, right? So 50 conversations every week without fail. The next thing I would do every week without fail, and this is one I'm trying to hold myself to. I just really started reworking this content for my life too, right? Even though I don't actively aspire to sell hundreds of homes every year anymore, I believe that this makes progress every week, no matter what you're doing. So I would do 5 videos every week. And I gave myself this because I do make 5 videos every week. I just don't share them with everybody. I would share them with others. So I started thinking about this, Ryan, how could you really make 5 videos? Well, for most people, that's going to feel really daunting. Okay, then start with 5 personal thank you videos. Record your phone. Hey, what's up, Ryan? This is Curtis, man. I just want to send you a video and say thank you so much for showing up early to Real Estate 101. Appreciate you being here. Boom, next. Hey, Mom, this is Curtis. I just want to send you a video and tell you I love you. Thank you so much for reading my article and sending me a text message. Jerome says batch, right? That's what we're doing. I'm recording the videos right now. You could record all 5 of your videos, horizontal orientation on your cell phone, and send them tomorrow. But guess what? Next week, you might feel a little creative. You might want to make a cooler video. You might want to turn on your computer, Sam. You might want to show yourself, right? You might want to stand up in your office. You might want to show what's going on. Or you get used to making 5 videos, and guess what? You're going to be out somewhere really cool, and you're going to want to share what's going on or your lifestyle, or you're going to get a text message from that buyer freaking out, and you're going to send them a video and you're going to calm them down. Or you're going to get so many questions from sellers in your neighborhood that you say, you know what? I'm just going to make that YouTube video and I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to tell them what's going on in our market, and I'm going to email every single week like Ricky Carruth, right? Ricky Carruth has become a rock star by having an email list. That simple. What does he do? He makes conversations happen. He makes content and shares it with people. And then the last one, I believe this one is super important. I think I heard Kyle's getting a lot of shine tonight here just by being active. Thank you, Kyle. I think I heard Kyle say when he got here that even though he hadn't been licensed very long, he had done a lot of presentations to buyers and sellers, right? I would not end a week in this business without giving presentations, period, end of story, ever, if I wanted to be successful. The number one way you speed up your growth in this industry, more experience than the next woman or man, right? And I guarantee you, very few new agents are out there giving 2 presentations a week. Very few. And even experienced agents aren't always giving 2 presentations a week. And the reason I say that is because a presentation, it does so many things for your capabilities. Number 1, it forces you to prepare. Number 2, it forces you to be creative. Number 3, it forces you to be structured. Number 4, it forces you to talk to someone and try. Number 5, it forces you to receive feedback. Now, what I mean by a presentation, Jonathan, that's a great question, is 2 of the types of presentations you're going to give in real estate. Number 1 is a presentation to a buyer, and number 2 is a presentation to a seller, right? So when you go sit down with a buyer, there's 2 ways you could do it. You could show up to the house, which is a terrible idea. That's not what I encourage, especially for the first meeting, but you could. Or you could show up to a coffee shop, a Starbucks, or at an office, or wherever you're meeting them, right? And you could show up and you could just talk. That's okay. That's powerful, helpful, better than nothing. Or you could show up and you could present, okay? So a presentation begins with expectation setting, then moves into some questions and discovery to find out more about them, then leads into your prepared material and content to talk a little bit about the home buying process, then ends with asking them for a buyer presentation or a buyer's representation agreement, and then make sure that you're going to follow up and push them to go meet with a mortgage lender, etc. So tonight's class is not all about presentations. We do have some classes specifically on presentations. Again, little note down at the bottom, ask Curtis for the presentation classes. I'll share them with you. I'll push you in the direction. But to answer your question here about who we're presenting to, I love this question. So if you're having 50 conversations, the first question should have been, who are we talking to, right, Chris? Because then you're presenting to whoever you're talking to. So if I were to start out in real estate tonight, the first thing that I would do is I'd go get together what's called my sphere of influence, list of people I already know, right? I would start not cold, I'd start warm, list of people I already know. In my city, I probably know 50 or 100 people, right? And if I need to have 50 conversations this week, what am I going to do? I'm going to call, text, Facebook message, and Instagram message all of those 100 people, right? And inevitably, about 20, 30, 40 of them are going to get back to me next week, and I'm going to talk to them. And then at the end of that conversation, I'm going to say, hey, did you know that I launched my real estate business and I'm practicing my presentation to buyers and sellers? Just out of curiosity, would information about how to buy a home or how to sell a home be helpful to you and your family? Cool. If I came by next Thursday and did my presentation for you all, number one, you'll give me some practice. Number two, you'll know a little bit more about what's going on in the market and be prepared in case you do decide to buy or sell. Boom. There's my 2 every week without fail. And then at the end of that presentation, I'd say, hey, Ryan, who else do you think needs to hear or see this presentation? Do you know anybody at work, any friends and family members that I can go give this presentation to? Boom, right? All right, Lucas. So great questions, everybody. Keep them coming. End of the chat. I'll point you to some resources. Lucas, I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom. All right, tell you what should be in your presentation, all that stuff. I won't do it tonight. I'm going to point you to a resource that will tell you. But no matter what, if I were starting over, again, this is me starting over, I would not end a week without giving presentations. And I can tell you, me, Curtis, real Curtis, personally, I probably give like, what, Ryan, 10 presentations, 20 a week already. And so what I know for a fact is that it helps me make immense progress in my thinking, in my ability to receive feedback. Somebody earlier talked about being scared to cold call. I can guarantee you, after probably like 500 or so conversations and about 10 or 15, 20 presentations, you won't be scared anymore. Because you'll know that they need your help. You'll know that they don't know anything. You'll know that they shouldn't be for sale by owner. You'll know that all you're going to do is turn that into a presentation. Okay. So probably not strangers, Chris, but some of them might be strangers. Hey, that's okay. Like maybe you can only get 5 minutes. Oh, somebody else asked an awesome question. This is one of my favorite ones too. I wanted to bring it up. So Dallin asked an amazing question. What is the difference between a video and a presentation? Beautiful. Okay. So here's the thing about a video, like literally think of a video. It could be about anything in the world, right? My daughters watch crazy videos on YouTube. That's a video. Also, I could sit down and record a formal buyer presentation and I could email it out to a couple of my friends and say, hey, would you critique this for me? I could email it to my mentor and say, hey, I worked on my buyer presentation. I just wanted you to review it. It's like a 15-minute video. I just wanted to see if there's anything I could do better. One of my favorite ways to use videos, Dallin, is I present information via video by recording my screen. So there's a bunch of ways to record your screen. So imagine being inside of like one of your favorite, it's Loom. That's what I use, Sam. Exactly. Imagine being inside of one of your favorite like CMA tools, right? Like RPR or something. Or imagine being, on your MLS or whatever you're going to tell somebody. And instead of just telling them, record using Loom, you doing stuff on your screen and send it to him via video. My son, who's 13, probably like rolling his eyes right now. He's like, yes, dad absolutely makes videos of how to do stuff and send them to me. Because then it's repeatable. He can watch it over and over again. My wife's really busy. She doesn't have time to learn some of the things I know how to do, but I can make a 5-minute video and now she can do it in 5 minutes as well because I recorded a video for her. So again, you can combine the two. They can be separate, but just don't end your week without the 55 and 2, right? So that would be my weekly progress. And this is akin to that greatness tracker I was telling you about. So that was just the make, okay? The next one, I will take action. And here's the action I'm going to take, right? That other stuff you're making happen, you're manifesting it, you're creating. I feel like it's like creative and content, you're just making all this cool stuff happen. The next one is I'm going to go places, okay? Every single week as an agent, I would go to 1 to 2 events, period. If you're not comfortable going out in public, go to 1 or 2 Zoom events. Go to a Facebook Live event. Go to somebody's Facebook Live. Jump on there and talk and comment. Go to an online event. Go to an online training. I don't care where you go. Just go somewhere. Go to a chat room, right? Go to a Roblox room. I don't know. Just go somewhere. If you're comfortable going out in public, then go to real life events, okay? There is no substitute for real life conversation, real life practice, face-to-face networking, okay? Go to 1 to 2 events. The next one, every single week, and this was required for all new agents that hired onto my team many years ago, and I would still require it, go to 5 homes. If you're going to be a pro and be comfortable in real estate, you have to get used to going homes. And there's nothing more, I think, like discouraging and sort of saddening than being many months into real estate and still not knowing how to use your super E key, not knowing how to work a combo box, not being able to open a door, not knowing how to schedule showings, not having ever gone to an open house, much less hosted one. Just go. Go to any homes. Giovanna, any homes. Tamara, what I used to tell my agents was first we had to do what was called previewing homes. Okay. So previewing homes is you're going to go see a home knowing that you might have a potential buyer or seller someday that you need to know information about this home for. Okay. You just go to your MLS and you can schedule the home to preview. Now, the hottest homes on the market might be the toughest ones to get into. Of course, there are COVID rules that need to be followed. What I said earlier, Maria, applies here. Ask your state, follow your state guidelines, your state protocols, right? Of course, there's different approaches you have to do. There's plenty of vacant homes. Exactly. Got to be aware of a vacant home, right? Make sure you're safe. Like, there's just a lot of homes to preview, right? Is the bottom line. And there are builders' homes. There are virtual tours, right? There's different homes in different zip codes, different homes and different price points. Sure. Great question. So I gave you a couple of examples at the beginning that are sort of just like logistics questions. You do not want to be scheduling homes for a buyer to be the first time you've scheduled homes through your MLS or through a showing service or anything else like that, right? You just don't want that to be the first time. So there's benefit in just like literally learning how to request showings and how to go show homes. The next one is literally getting comfortable and used to homes, right? Opening doors, looking around, what they're laid out like. You know, you probably haven't owned hundreds of homes in your life, so you haven't been inside a lot of homes. But then where it gets really powerful, somebody's already sharing it in the chat there, is getting market knowledge, okay? So when you request a home showing in, let's say, your zip code, that's where you live, you're gonna see homes in your price point in your area. What about the home all the way across town? What do you get for the same price? What do you get from builder A versus builder B? Are the homes in this area 30 years old or 10, right? So you get a lot of market knowledge by going out and previewing homes. And then you really just get into action, right? I can tell you my first year of previewing homes, I can't remember this number really exactly, but I can remember like 2 or 3. I probably met 2 or 3 buyers just being at a home. Like someone would randomly pull up, they'd see a sign and an agent. I had how to hand out a card and get their phone number because you're just like out and in action. The same thing would be true as if you went to a builder's office to go look at new homes for preview. If you went to open houses, bottom line is you're getting the action. You're going to find out some answers to all these questions you're asking in the chat. But remember, these questions are just your fears or your beliefs, okay? This are your declarations. You will get out there and I'm telling you it will work, right? It does. Okay, the last one. Go to 2 training classes. And I think I saw somebody asking earlier about like what training classes. I don't care. The cool thing about training classes nowadays is they're like literally everywhere, right? I feel like you could just go to a podcast and listen to a training class. You could come to eXp World. We have 60 to 80 hours a week live every single week. You could watch a video. You could watch somebody's Facebook Live. The crazy thing about training classes is they're everywhere, right? Of course, I'll give you some direction in a moment, but just go. You know, there's an old saying that if you haven't taken any professional training in the last 30 days, then your business is dying, right? Because you're not learning anything new. You're not getting inspired. You're not getting any new tactics or strategies. When you're new to the business or you have some really big goals, it's not every 30 days. To me, it's every week. All right. Next, I will research and find. Okay. So I think a really overlooked part of getting started in real estate, and it never ends for me, I hope it won't end for you, is constant research. Like you have to be researching, right? If you're not looking for stuff for next week, then you're already behind for next week. If you don't have your training schedule down for next week, then you're not ready for next week, right? So if I just told you to go to 2 events every week, you're gonna have to find those events every week. You're gonna have to research. The other thing I think you should be looking for every single week, I mean, I used to do this daily. You could probably tell I don't need as much of this daily anymore, but I still find a way to do it, is one source of inspiration. I'll find someone, something, some song, some picture, some smell, some video, some phrase, some quote. Maybe I'll look at my declaration and read it a couple of times. Maybe I'll listen to somebody's YouTube video. One source of inspiration. I mean, there might be many, many, many days where you get up in this business and you're just like, how am I going to do my progress tracker today? How am I going to do my greatness tracker today? How am I going to do these 5 videos today? How am I going to have 10 conversations today? Find a way to get inspired. That's how you'll get started anyways. And then you'll pick up some momentum and you'll go from there. And then the last one, every week, find one new opportunity to explore. One new opportunity to explore. And of course, here come all the questions, right? What kind of opportunity, Curtis? What do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm not sure what to do. Those are your fears. and your beliefs. If your eyes and ears open, if you're actually doing this research, if you're actually going to events, if you're actually having conversations, I promise you'll find an opportunity. Just ask. An opportunity to serve, an opportunity to add value, an opportunity to try. One of the biggest opportunities I would be working on right now if I were active in the real estate business is working with investors and on investment properties and just understanding investing. How many of you all give me a yes in the chat if you either A, already like study investments or work in investments, or B, want to, right? Yes, if you A or B, because I think that's one opportunity worth pursuing right now, because I've seen many, many friends of mine the last 18 to 24 months completely boot up huge investor service businesses. Commercial, I love that, Maria. There's a great opportunity with commercial here at eXp. I'm going to give you the last couple here. The last couple are, or the last one, I'm sorry. I will give, right? So I told you all there's all this progress. So I will give. I give personally. I already do this regularly, but I would encourage you to adopt a giver's mindset. I will give, number one gift to someone, anyone in need. In the greatness tracker, my coach used to make me write 10 handwritten thank you cards. No thank you anymore. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't write 10. I would write them to the same people, or whatever. But I love gifting. I love just dropping off a bottle of wine at my neighbor's front door. I love just sending someone something randomly from Amazon. I love buying birthday presents. I love gifting a video. I love complimenting someone on social. That's a gift, right? Any way you can gift someone, anyone, once a week. Might just be helping a neighbor out, mow their lawn for them, get out there and do something helpful for someone. But there's a lot of ways to gift. The next one, requirement. I will give 120 minutes to myself, care for myself every week. That's only like less than 30 minutes a day, but you got to give it to yourself. You have to like allow yourself to feel something, some amount of time every day. Take a walk, take a shower, get your hair done, get your nails done, go exercise, go work out. Well, so this is weekly. 120 minutes would be like 30 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. So this is weekly, because some weeks, maybe you're like grinding all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, you just rock out for 2 hours, Chris, right? Perfect. Like, just make sure you care for yourself, because remember this. I'm going to zoom back real fast in the slides. Boom, 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 boom. Remember this. We said, I will need to describe your best self to achieve these goals. So you cannot be your best self if you're not caring for yourself, if you're not loving yourself, if you're not giving love to yourself, making time for yourself, right? So you got to give that 120 minutes. And then this one's new for me. I'll be honest. I'm not scared of very much. I like speaking on stages. I like cold calls. I like talking to people. I'm just not that scared of a lot of stuff. I'm scared of a few things. And I know for a fact, you all know this, it's really cliche. It sounds cliche, but it's just true. All of the good stuff, life, all of where you get better, all of your progress, right? It comes outside your comfort zone, okay? So imagine every week if you just scared the bleep out of yourself. You just did something super scary. I promise all the good comes from it, like all the good. And so if you have this little tracker up, I gave you all the tracker a couple of times. It's on page 3 of my notes. Again, it's just like a super simple white piece of paper. You can print it off. On page 3, we've got the weekly progress tracker. I made it look like a little, like a bingo board, right? There's 4 rows of 3, there's 12. And if you can put a check mark, an X, a little bean, a token, a dauber on that thing every week, shoot, if you can get it 80% full, you will crush your goals that you started in the beginning. I promise you all. So my commitment to you is I'm going to run with you. I personally revamped this a little bit myself, just to be able to push myself in a couple of areas. So let's do it, Jackson. I hear you. Good question. So Jackson asked a great question. Jackson, hang it on for a second. I'm going to wrap up tonight's session here. Hopefully everybody got a lot of value from what we talked about. I hope you got some structure. You got some answers to your questions, but you've got some more questions. So I want to get to Q&A shortly here. But let me first challenge you by asking you, what's your training plan for this week? We talked about your training plan. If you're like, Curtis, I don't even know where to start, I got you. I'm going to drop a link in the chat box. Click on that link. It's going to open up a calendar. We've got 60 to 80 hours a week of live training this week. If you're a new to the business agent, I want you to look for the Fast Start Training Series classes. Curtis, I can't attend live. I have a full-time job and I go other places. I got you for that as well. Click on this link and you can actually take all 14 of the Fast Start Series classes online, on demand, yourself. Still encourage you to go to the live sessions, but you can jump right in there. If you're an experienced agent or you've already taken Fast Start, you're beyond the basics, go to the Icon or Excel series. Icon series is the best, I think, most dynamic and relevant training for those of you that are looking to be high producers, because it's taught by our current high producers. Our Icon agents teach what they actually do to sell a lot of real estate. And then the Excel series is stuff kind of outside of the norm. We're talking about teams, we're talking about life, we're talking about mindset stuff. It's really great. And so for tonight, everybody, one thing I probably didn't say at the very beginning is, for anybody who's just joining Real Estate 101, this is not, we don't do this class, we don't do the same class every week. There is no one class that teaches the A to Z of real estate. This Sunday at Real Estate 101, what we do instead is just a different topic every week. We cover different things for different agents. There's different folks here. So Fast Start is your basic training for real estate at eXp. So if you want to get the answers to the questions that were asked earlier, such as what presentations, Curtis? Well, there's a working with buyers class. There's a working with sellers class in Fast Start. Somebody asking earlier, who do I talk to? There's a lead generation class and a lead conversion class, and it teaches you who to talk to and how to talk to them. So go to those Fast Start series classes or look out for Icon series in Excel. The next thing I wanted to share, I want to encourage you all, for everybody who said you're interested in getting more experience or knowledgeable about sort of the world of investing, investors, you want to work with investors, there's a super awesome Icon series class that's about to get rolled out. It starts this week. So I wanted to tell everybody about it because I think it sounds really cool. And if I were starting over, this would be an opportunity I would pursue. So there's an icon named Shelby Osborne, and Shelby is starting a 6-series class on Tuesday, August 17th, here in eXp World at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So it's a little bright and early for you on the Pacific Coast. And the entire series is going to be centered around working with investors. So the first class is Airbnb's short-term rentals on Tuesday. And then the next day on Wednesday, she's going over the BRRRR, or the BRRR strategy of investing, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, something like that. I've gotten the R's out of order, but it's a strategy for investing. So I would encourage you all to jump into those classes here. And then I gave you a list of featured classes that we also recommend next week outside of the ones I talked about tonight. So there's a lot of recommendations because there's a lot of options. So encourage you all to take a peek. Now, most of the classes, Carmen, to your question, most of them are live. Well, all of the ones I'm talking about are live, and some of them are recorded. It really just kind of depends on if we have a recording scheduled, how many times that agent's done that class, etc. So if they are recorded, where they eventually end up, and I'll give you all a link to make sure you're aware of this, is they typically end up in what we call our eXp University Workplace Group. Now, those are only available for current eXp agents. If you're a special guest, you won't have access to this workplace just yet until you actually end up at eXp. So I see a lot of awesome questions in the chat, and I love that. So I'm going to offer a trade. I will hang. It is 55 after. I know I'm shouting and my whole family's probably ready to go to sleep. Tomorrow is the first day of school for my son. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a couple more links here. I'm going to go ahead and get a link to the slide deck. I know Ryan shared it there for each of you, and I'll make sure it shows up here. And then what I'm going to offer you all is, if you will complete a brief survey for me,